We are live. Oh, yes, October, it's your month. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Storyteller's Corner, episode 14, the Cask of Amontillado. So it's no secret that I'm excited for the Halloween season. I enjoy the season greatly, and it does speak to me on quite a few levels. And as you can hear and somewhat see, I'm not the only one excited for this season, as my cat October is also excited because this is her month. This is the month I named her after. So, let's talk about Edgar Allan Poe. Oh gosh, yes, it's your month. We get it. But yes, let's talk about Edgar Allan Poe. Edgar Allan Poe is an author who, with a copious amount of issues, having an alcohol addiction and a dead fiancé and a mysterious death at the age of 40. He certainly had a lot of issues going against him, but he did bring us quite a few stories of chilling notions, consisting of murder, insanity, decapitation, all that good stuff. Forgot I had a bookmark in here. But yes, Edgar Allan, I wish I could be here, especially because of what's been happening to me. What's been happening, Michael? If you're having a rough day, I'm terribly sorry. But, welcome to the live stream. I'm glad to have you. And October is just rubbing herself against my laptop. But yes, Edgar Allan Poe has given us quite a collection of stories and poems, all of which dive into the macabre and the horrific. Some of his more classic stories are The Raven, which I believe is a poem. There's the story of the Black Cat, The Pit and the Pendulum, The Telltale Heart. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. Sorry to hear that, Mitchell. But you're here now. And then, of course, another famous story of his is the Red Death. But the one I'm going to be reading is the Cask of Amontillado. And before you say anything, yes, I actually do have the complete short stories and poems of Edgar Allan Poe. I think I found this at the used bookstore in my hometown. And I decided to collect it because we had read some Edgar Allan Poe work when I was in high school, back in the day. Yes, I did, October. I did read the Cask of Amontillado in high school, so you can just hush. I did so. I'm sorry I can't give you proof. You couldn't have gone to school with me because you're a cat, and also I didn't have you at the time. I think everything I read, but I do have it's always being bullied in me. Well, I'm glad you're able to get help, Michael. Yes, October, we're going to be reading this story once we get a few more guests and after the usual song and commentary. This is what I always do in my live streams. You're just going to have to deal with it. I apologize in advance. October's probably going to be photobombing the live stream. It's her month and she just wants all the attention. Yes, you do. But yes, while I read a lot of fantasy, and that is in fact my wheelhouse, I do like the more gothic and spooky stuff. That wasn't always the case though. When I was little, I was the absolute scaredy cat. I literally cried when a teacher was reading us scary ghost stories. I was that spooky. October! That's my shoulder, yes. October is extremely needy, so I apologize. But yes, when I was little, I was a coward. I got scared at everything, and I always slept buried under my covers. Like, my notion as a little kid, my notion was that if you slept with your entire body hovered under the blankets with only your head out, then the monsters under your bed and the monsters in your closet would leave you alone because they don't need to be able to have access to your head, and they wouldn't be able to eat your head in the first place because it's basically mostly bone. That was my notion as a kid, and I still sleep that way, kind of, because I like being kept warm. And yes, as a little kid, I always thought blankets had some sort of anti-monster repellent to them. Why? I don't know. I was a weird child. A very, very weird child. Yes, I was. Well, you don't know what I was like as a kid. October, she hopped down. Oh my gosh. Just a lot of black cat meowing. I mean, technically, she's got some cinnamon dusting and a single white toe. She's not a full-on black cat, but you know what? Yes, I'm talking about you. Oh my goodness. She is so moody. Oh my goodness. I wouldn't be surprised if she photobombs this entire live stream. She literally tugged at my shirt from behind. But yes. Well, yeah, now you're back on the bed. You're welcome to listen to the story if you want, but you gotta calm down. Hi, Andre Gibson, welcome. After this song, then I will be reading the Cask of Amontillado as promised. But yes, when I was little, I was a coward, but now that I've gotten older, there are still some things that scare me, but I'm a lot more courageous than I was before. Yeah. Yes, I am, October. I don't care what you think. Special guest star on the Storyteller's Corner, October, my cat. This is fitting, considering it's her month, the spooky month. And I don't know if anyone's curious, but like to any of you who are wondering, it's like, hey, Avery, why did you name your cat October after the spooky month? To answer your question, I named her October because that seemed to be the name she was most responsive to. That's how I named Maria as well. I tried out 3 different names, and she seemed to be most responsive to October. Yes, you were. And that is your name now. You are October. Oh my goodness. I'm so moody. But yes, I've grown a lot more courageous before, and the things that used to scare me, I'm intrigued by. And I did take some inspiration from Edgar Allan Poe. Fun fact, as proof, when I was in high school, I was working on a story called, well, now I can't remember what it's called, but it was a story about a young boy whose father was a ghost and his mother was alive. And 3 characters that I had that were going to be sort of recurring characters that helped the boy out on his journey were these 3 ravens, Ed, Elaine, and Poe, as a reference to Edgar Allan Poe. Elaine was the big sister. She was kind of the brains of the operation, and she wore a purple knit scarf. Ed, on the other hand, was a traditional raven. He liked shiny things. He liked flying around. He liked listening to ghost stories. Poe, on the other hand, was the special raven boy. He fell out of the nest when he was a hatchling, and his big thing was he liked cookies and socks, and he slept in socks. That was his character arc. And I actually do have yes, October. But I actually even have a painting that my mom found at the thrift store that has 3 birds on it, which is almost similar to, yes, that's my pendant. So yeah, October is going to star in this episode of the Storyteller's Corner. It's fitting, or are you not? Are you going to sit on my lap or on the bed? Make up your mind. My goodness. But yes, I think Edgar Allan Poe, despite his issues, was actually extremely creative. And no one knows how he technically died, so it's interesting. Just a mysterious death at the age of 40. Which I mean is somewhat a reasonable age to go to. But yeah, if no one has any questions, Yes, October, that's the book. And what I have with me is not a glass of Amontillado. I tried looking in the store that I work at. I tried finding like a bottle of Amontillado to sip on whilst I did the live stream, which I thought would have been fun. However, I couldn't find any, so I improvised. What's in this glass is some strawberry wine mixed in with some pomegranate juice to give it sort of a very dark red color. So yeah. Intermittently, while I'm reading you the story of the Cask of Amontillado, I will be sipping on my own faux Amontillado. Strawberry wine and pomegranate juice. It would have been cool if I had a bottle of Amontillado here with me to sip upon as I read you the story of the infamous wine, but I had to improvise. So yeah, did I put some away? Yeah, I did. Okay. So yes, while I'm reading, feel free to leave comments and ask questions, and I'll try or leave remarks as I'm reading the story. Oh, right, I forgot. I'm using as a bookmarker, I have a poem that I wrote in September while I was working the grill one week. No, that is not for you. You're a cat. You can't have alcohol. Come here. Now look at me. You're a cat. You can't have wine. It would make you sick. She literally tried pawing at the wine sim. I'm like, oh no, that is a spill waiting to happen, and I don't want to lose that wine. No alcohol for you. You're a cat. Cats can't drink alcohol. I don't care if it's your month. Hi, Viking. Welcome to the live stream. In a little bit, I'll be reading the Cask of Amontillado. I even got a glass of prop Amontillado. I wasn't able to find any Amontillado at my grocery store that I work at, so instead I took some strawberry wine, some pomegranate juice, and there you go. Yes, October. I know there's a story about black cats that Edgar Allan Poe wrote, but I'm not going to read that story. No. Hush, I apologize. You're going to be hearing her meow all the time. She's going through some things. My brother's cat tried to drink Mountain Dew once. Oh no. Well, I know for a fact that alcohol is bad for your pets and they shouldn't have any because it's straight up poisonous to them. But without further ado, it's time to read the Cask of Amontillado. I apologize for October. Not on my laptop. Calm down. You're going to be hearing her meow a lot. I apologize in advance. The Cask of Amontillado. The 1,000 injuries of Fortunato that I had borne as best I could, but when he ventured upon insult, I vowed revenge. You, who so well know the nature of my soul, will not suppose, however, that I gave utterance to a threat. At length I would be avenged. This was a point definitively settled, but the very definitiveness with which it was resolved preluded the idea of risk. I must not only punish, but punish with impunity. A wrong is unredressed when retribution overtakes its redresser. It is equally unredressed when the avenger fails to make himself felt as such to him who has done the wrong. It must be understood that neither by word nor deed had I given Fortunato cause to doubt my goodwill. I continued, as was my wont, to smile in his face, and he did not perceive that my smile now was at the thought of his immolation. He had a weak point, this Fortunato, although in other regards he was a man to be respected and even feared. He prided himself upon his connoisseurship in wine. Few Italians have the true virtuoso spirit. For the most part, their enthusiasm is adopted to suit the time and opportunity. To practice imposture upon the British and Austrian millionaires, Hainteen and Gemery, Fortunato, like his countrymen, was a quack, but in the matter of old wines he was sincere. In this respect I did not differ from his materially. I was skilful in the Italian vintages myself, and bought largely whenever I could. It was about dusk one evening during the supreme madness of the carnival season that I had encountered my friend. He accosted me with excessive warmth, for he had been drinking much. The man wore motley. He had on a tight-fitting party-striped dress, and his hat was surmounted by the conical cap and bells. I was so pleased to see him that that I thought I should never have done wringing his hand. I said to him, "My dear Fortunato, you are luckily met. How remarkably well you are looking today. But I have received a pipe of what passes for Amontillado, and I have my doubts." "How?" said he. "Amontillado? A pipe? Impossible! And in the middle of the carnival!" "I have my doubts," I replied, "and I was silly enough to pay the full Amontillado price without consulting you in the matter. You were not to be found, and I was fearful of losing a bargain." "Amontillado!" "I have my doubts." "Amontillado!" And I must satisfy them. "Amontillado!" "As you are engaged, I am on my way to Lucchesi. If anyone has a critical turn, it is he. He will tell me, Lucchesi cannot tell Amontillado from sherry. And yet some fools will have it that his taste is a match for your own. Come, let us go." "Whither?" "To your vaults." "My friend, no. I will not impose upon your good nature. I perceive you have an engagement with Lucchesi." "I have no engagement. Come." "My friend, no. It is not the engagement, but the severe cold with which I perceive you are afflicted. The vaults are insufferably damp. They are encrusted with nitre." "Let us go, nevertheless. The cold is merely nothing. Amontillado! You have been imposed upon. And as for Lucchesi, he cannot distinguish sherry from Amontillado." Thus speaking, Fortunato possessed himself of my arm, putting on a mask of black silk, and drawing the roquelaire closely about my person. I suffered him to hurry me to my palazzo. There were no attendants at home. They had absconded to make merry in honor of the time. I had told them that I should not return until the morning, and had given them explicit orders not to stir from the house. These orders were sufficient, I well knew, to ensure their immediate disappearance, one and all, as soon as my back was turned. I took from their sconces 2 flambeaux, and gave one to Fortunato, bowed him through several sweet rooms of the archway that led him to the vaults. I passed down along a long, winding staircase, requesting him to be cautious as he followed. We came at length to the foot of the descent, and stood together on the damp ground of the catacombs of the Montresors. The gait of my friend was unsteady, and the bells on his cap jingled as he strode. "The pipe?" said he. "It is farther on," said I, "but observe the white web-work which gleams from these cavern walls." He turned towards me and looked into my eyes with 2 filmy orbs that distilled the rheum of intoxication. "Nitre?" he asked at length. "Nitre," I replied. "How long have you had that cough?" My poor friend found it impossible to reply for many times. "It is nothing," he said at last. "Come," I said with decision, "we will go back. Your health is precious. You are rich, respected, admired, beloved. You are happy, as once I was. You are a man to be missed. For me it is no matter. We will go back. You will be ill, and I cannot be responsible. Besides, there is Lucchesi." "Enough!" said he. "This cough is a mere nothing. It will not kill me. I shall not die of a cough." "True, true," I replied. "And indeed I had no intention of alarming you unnecessarily, but you should use all proper caution. A draught of this Medoc will defend us from the damps." Here I knocked off the neck of a bottle, which I drew from a long row of its fellows that lay upon the mould. Drink, I said, presenting him the wine. He raised it to his lips with a leer, paused, and nodded to me familiarly, while his bells jingled. I drink, he said, to the buried that repose around us, and I to your long life. He again took my arm, and we proceeded. These vaults, he said, are extensive. The Montresors, I replied, were a great and numerous family. I forget your arms. A huge human foot d'or in a field azure. The foot crushes a serpent, rampant, whose fangs are embedded in the heel. And the motto? Nemo me impune, lascit. Good, he said. The wine sparkled in his eyes, and the bells jingled. My own fancy grew warm with the Medoc. We had passed through walls of piled bones, with casks and puncheons intermingling, into the innermost recesses of the catacombs. I paused again, and this time I made bold to seize Ferruccio by the arm above the elbow. The night tree, I said. See, it increases. It hangs like moss upon the vaults. We are below the river's bed. The drops of moisture trickle among the bones. Come, we will go back ere it is too late. Your cough. It is nothing, he said. Let us go on. But first, another draught of the Medoc. I broke and reached him a flagon of the De Gravi. He emptied it with a breath. His eyes flashed with a fierce light. He laughed and threw the bottle upward, with a gesticulation I did not understand. I looked at him in surprise. He repeated the movement, a grotesque one. You do not comprehend, he said. Not I replied. Then you are not of the Brotherhood. How? You are not one of the Masons. Yes, I said. Yes. You? Impossible! A Mason? A Mason, I replied. A sign, he said. It is this, I answered, producing a trowel from beneath the folds of my roquelaire. You jest, he exclaimed, recoiling a few paces. But let us proceed to the Amontillado. Be it so, I said, replacing the tool beneath the cloak, and again offering him my arm. He leaned upon it heavily. We continued our route in search of the Amontillado. We passed through a range of low arches, descended, passed on, and descended again, arriving at a deep crypt in which the foulness of the air caused our flambeaux to rather glow than flame. At the most remote end of the crypt there appeared another less spacious in its walls, which had been lined with human remains. Piled to the vault overhead in the fashion of the great catacombs of Paris. 3 sides of this interior had been thrown down and lay promiscuously upon the earth, forming at one point a mound of the same size. Within the walls, thus exposed by the displacing of the bones, we perceived a still interior recess, in depth about 4 feet, in width 3, in height 6 or 7. It seemed to have been constructed for no especial use within itself, but formed merely the interval between the 2 colossal supports of the roof of the catacombs, and was backed by one of their circumscribing walls of solid granite. It was in vain that Fortunato, uplifting his dull torch, endeavored to pry into the depth of the recess. Its termination the feeble light did not enable us to see. Proceed, I said. Here in the Amontillado. As for Luchesi, he is an ignoramus, interrupted my friend, as he stepped unsteadily forward, while I followed immediately at his heels. In an instant he had reached the extremity of the niche. Finding his progress arrested by the rock, stood stupidly bewildered. A moment more, and I had fettered him to the granite. In its surface were 2 iron staples distant from the other, about 2 feet horizontally. From one of these depended a short chain from the other paddock, throwing the links about his waist. It was but the work of a few seconds to secure it. He was too much astounded to resist. Withdrawing the key, I stepped back from the recess. "Pass your hand," I said, "over the wall. You cannot help feeling the nitrate. Indeed, it is very damp. Once more, let me implore you to return." "No? Then I must positively leave you. But first I must render you the little attentions in my power." "The Amontillado!" ejaculated my friend, not yet recovered from his astonishment. "True," I replied. "The Amontillado." As I said these words, I busied myself among the pile of bones, which I have spoken. Throwing them aside, I soon uncovered a quantity of building stone and mortar. With these materials, and with the aid of my trowel, I began vicariously to wall up the entrance of the Nice. I had scarcely laid the first tier of the masonry when I discovered that the intoxication of Fortunato had in a great measure worn off. The earliest indication I had of this was a low moaning cry from the depth of the recess. It was not the cry of a drunken man. There was then a long and obstinate silence. I laid the second tier, and the third, and the fourth, and then I heard the furious vibrations of the chains. The noise lasted for several minutes, during which, that I might hearken to it with the more satisfaction, I ceased my labors and looked down upon the bones. When at last the clanking subsided, I resumed the trowel and finished without interruption the fifth, the sixth, and the seventh tier. The wall was now nearly up a level with my breast. Again I paused, and holding the flambeau over the mason-work, threw a few feeble rays upon the figure within. A succession of loud and shrill screams, bursting suddenly from the throat of the chain formed, seemed to thrust me violently back. For a brief moment I hesitated. I trembled. Unsheathing my rapier, I began to grope about the recess, but the thought of an instant reassured me. I placed my hand upon the solid fabric of the catacombs, and felt satisfied. I reapproached the wall. I replied to the yells of him who clamored. I re-echoed. I aided. I surpassed them in volume and in strength. I did this, and the clamor grew still. It was now midnight, and my task was drawing to a close. I had completed the 8th, the 9th, and the 10th tier. I had finished a portion of the last, and the 11th, where there remained but a single stone to be fitted and plastered in. I struggled with its weight. I placed it particularly in its destined position, and now there came from the niche a low laugh that erected the hairs upon my head. It was succeeded by a sad voice, which I had difficulty in recognizing as that of the noble Fortunato. The voice said, "A very good joke indeed. An excellent jest. We will have many a rich laugh about it at the palazzo. Over our wine." "The Amontillado," I said. "Yes, the Amontillado. But is it not getting late? Will they not be awaiting us at the palazzo? The Lady Fortunato and the rest? Let us be gone." "Yes," I said. "Let us be gone." "For the love of God, Montresor!" "Yes," I said, "for the love of God." But to these words I hearkened in vain for a reply. I grew impatient. I called aloud, "Fortunato?" No answer. I called again, "Fortunato!" No answer still. I thrust the torch in the remaining aperture and let it fall within. There came forth in return only a jingling of the bells. My heart grew sick on account of the dampness of the catacombs. I hastened to make an end of my labor. I forced the last stone into its position. I plastered it up. Against the new masonry, I re-erected the old rampart of bones. For half a century, no mortal has disturbed them. In pace requiescati. And that is the end of the tale of Amontillado. Well, I know for the most part when I read fairy tales, I always try and find a moral, but with friends like these, who needs enemies? There was a story I read when I was in high school. I think I was 18 at the time, and as an extra bonus, our English teacher had us watch a film adaptation of the story. There my speakers go. There we go. Now the speakers work again. But yes, our English teacher had given us a film adaptation to watch, and I didn't know what to make of it at first. I found it to be interesting, but then the screaming part just totally caught me off guard, even though it was a part of the book. It was certainly an odd story, but I enjoyed it. And then on YouTube, I eventually found that someone created a song based off of the story. And I found this through an animation. It was a very good animation, and I enjoyed it immensely. And yeah, I personally enjoyed the story, and I hope you guys enjoyed my retelling with my prop, Amontillado. Hopefully I did the story justice. I certainly did my best to do so. And I apologize if I butchered the Latin bits at the end. I apologize. I was doing my best. It's odd though. I didn't have very many people comment while I was reading the story. But I suppose that makes it an easier listen for those who like just listening to the story without interjections of commentary. So, yeah, that was the story of Amontillado, and Edgar Allan Poe wrote more than just that story. This book contains all of his works, including the poems Annabel Lee. He wrote plenty of poems. I may have to read some of these poems one day in a live stream. But yes. So what did you guys think? I personally enjoyed reading the story to you, and I do have at least 2 more. I want to do at least 3 Halloween-themed live stream readings for the month of October. I got one story that I'm going to read next, and then I'm still contemplating on whether or not I'm going to write a short story that I'll read to you guys for the month. I think I will do a scary short story. Since I don't really write horror, I write fantasy. This will certainly be a new challenge for me, and I apologize in advance if you don't like it. But I will certainly do my best. And yeah. Right. You are a guest in this live stream. So special thank you to October, my cat, for semi-partaking in the live stream. Isn't she cute? And here is her toe, her single white toe. Oh! There. You were still part of the stream. Yes, you were. But yes. I'm glad you guys enjoyed the live stream, even though I hardly heard from you guys, but I hope you did at least. Oh. But yeah. And for the record, for anyone who is wondering if my prop Amontillado tasted good, it actually does. Again, it's just strawberry flavored Zinfandel with pomegranate juice. It's actually really good, and it's such a pretty red color, which is fitting for the whole Amontillado vibes. And I tried to dress a little more gothic and spooky for the live stream. Yes, I did. I don't care what you think, October. My goodness. Yes, I did. So, now I could technically read another short story, or rather a poem of Edgar Allan Poe's before the live stream ends, if you guys want me to. If I get 3 votes yes, then I'll read another little bit of Edgar Allan Poe. I know, October. It's your month, and everyone just has to pay attention to you. That's my shoe. Yes, it is my shoe. She's very vocal. Yes, you are. So I apologize in advance for all the yowling you guys heard on the live stream. But yeah, that was the story of the Cask of Amontillado. It was certainly an interesting story, and again, it just proves the age-old quote: "With friends like these, who needs enemies?" And I love that they have a lot of mystery in the story. Like, we never know what it is that Fortunato did to upset his friend Montresor, the narrator. We never know what exactly happened between them that made Montresor want to kill him, other than it was an insult. We don't know what the insult entailed, but apparently it's bad enough to warrant murder. Murder over some, wine. You gotta give the narrator points. He planned this out fully, and he gets away with it scot-free. Like, geez. I don't think anyone could commit a murder like that nowadays. Not even I could. The only time murder is ever legal and you can get away with it is if you're writing in a story. That's the only time it'll ever work. But yes. So that was the story of Amontillado. And I gotta say, I definitely enjoyed it once more. And it was nice to read it again, especially after all these years since I've been gone from high school. So, yeah. Though it looks like there's no more voting. There's no voting and no one's talking, so yes, I know what you're thinking, October, but yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the story, and thank you so much for coming and attending. It means the world to me that you guys enjoy my work and you enjoy my stories, and I'm glad it makes you guys happy. So, yes, I'll see you all in the next one then. Bye. Rest in peace, Fortunato.